Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show, we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of The Silent Sea. A great series premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, obviously, I don't know if I'd seen the full trailer, or was it just a teaser trailer? It might have just been a teaser. I don't remember. So, I went into this knowing that they went to space for whatever reason. I didn't know what circumstances on Earth led them to this, because it almost seems interesting, because you think with the nature of this show, it's like, oh, them going to space has something to do with the current predicament. It probably does in the grand scheme, but when you look at when it's kind of explained, like, oh, this is what the mission seems like, what's that have to do with anything? It doesn't seem like it has anything. Like, we get this background stuff about Earth, where basically Earth is running out of water, to the point people are like, there are laws in place saying like, hey, you should euthanize your animals, because you're like, oh, that's, I mean, because it's like, right, there's only enough water to go at, like, so humans have to take a little more priority. So basically, like, if you want an animal, it's basically going to cost you more type of situation. I guess it's just like, it's like if you have an apartment and you want an animal, like, it's going to cost you more type of situation. So I wonder if it's something of that nature. But also, we see it in Korea. I'm assuming it's worldwide. I mean, the water drought thing is worldwide. We've seen, like, get a little taste of, like, different countries, like, perspectives on it and stuff like that. But later on, we see that there's a card system to basically decide, like, how much water you can get. Depending on your status, you can get a little bit of water, and that's harsh, because, well, it depends on how much of a family you have. Like, what determines a lot of that, we don't know. Like, it seems like the government dishes that out, that system, and it's like, if you do a certain amount, like, they will, like, once again, the criteria to cross over into a higher status, who knows? Because we meet Dr. Song Jion, who is played by the actress who plays Sun in Sensei. Is the thing I best know her from. I'm probably going to butcher her name, but it's Bae Duna, I believe. I didn't also know, I was looking at her up on Wikipedia, I didn't know she was also in Kingdom on Netflix too. I've come across the show, I just haven't, like, sat down and watched it. I've always been interested in it, but I also had no idea she was in it, so that's pretty dope. The guy that's kind of, like, recruiting her is the actor who plays Deoksu in Squid Games, and I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting, because it's like, he feels almost like a different person. Like, his hairstyle kind of the same, but still, like, he's got the glasses and no tattoos, so it kind of throws me for a loop for a second. Another person from Squid Games is Captain Han. If I'm not mistaken, that's the dude who gets people into the games. The dude, like, oh, you flip this thing, you owe me like 100 grand, or I get to slap you in the face. It's that thing. I think it's that dude. I believe that's the same actor. I could be mistaken, though. But we learn about Dr. Song a little bit. Obviously, that she actually shifted from astrobiology to ethology or something like that. And the question is, well, like, why did she do that? And the guy's like, I don't know, maybe it pays better. But when we do check up on her, she's looking after an animal. And I wonder, is that kind of indicative of 5 years ago? Because they reference, like, oh, he's like, yeah, I met her, like, once 5 years ago. Yeah, you didn't bother explaining the circumstances of, yeah, the reason why I met her is because the director of this whole operation, SAA, director, was it Choi? She was dropping off Dr. Song's golden card. I don't know how many people have that, but it gives her access to a lot of water. It's like, right, it's normally a government-funded thing of, like, what status you get, but we're giving you a special exception, like, because her sister died on Balhae Station, the one they have on the moon, so... Because we get little peeks into that a little bit, that basically 5 years ago there was, like, some radiation leak or something, so they temporarily shut it down, but they are in the process of permanently shutting it down, and that's where this mission comes into play, because it's like, right, we need you to get some samples up there. What type of samples? We don't have that information, because the home dude was like, the director was like, yeah, we lost that information a long time ago. I'm like, yeah, that's believable. How he's stuttering for a second, and you immediately cut him off to be like, oh, we don't have information on that, continue. And then, like, because, like, Dr. Song's asking questions, she's like, like, should we really be doing this, considering the fact is we don't have that much information? She's like, but you're looking at it, it's like we're lying to you or something like that. Like, Dr. Song is like, we're telling you, we actually don't know everything. It's just like the look on her face just seems like that, oh, I'm smiling while secretly I'm stabbing you in the back because I'm hiding everything from you. Captain Han seems like he might have some idea, probably not the full scope of everything, but it seems like enough to the point that he was suggesting is telling Dr. Song, hey, don't take this mission. I would reconsider. And even she's like, what? He never explained why, but he was telling her to not go on this mission show. So that should have been like a key sign. But because they dangled this in front of her because they knew she'd want to go to Balhae Station because her sister was one of the victims of it. Because apparently it was like a crew of like, I think the number was like 117 people died. So I guess, like, for her to get some closure on fully understanding what happened, she needs answers, and she figures the only way to actually get answers is she goes there. They need her anyway because of her astrobiologist, like, background. Now, once again, because she's supposed to be, like, it's Captain Han's show until it's her time, because basically, like I said, they're getting samples of something. There's multiple samples around. It's like, we just need you to get one. This mission is going to be a 24-hour thing, and you're just like, the fact that you're putting a time frame on it too is interesting. Obviously, we get our little introduction to members of the crews. There's that one dude. Him I'm blanking on his name, but he referred to himself as Top Gun or whatever. Him and that other dude. Like, it's like, because the other guy made it sound like he was part of the military, but Top Gun wasn't. So they have like their back and forth. Then we meet our co-pilot, our initial co-pilot, because for whatever reason, and that doesn't like raise some red flags. The fact is they replaced the co-pilot 5 minutes before they're about to take off, and it's like, why would they do that? It's like, and he's like, oh, like Han's like, well, we're about to like leave in like 5 minutes. You want me to kick him out? It's like, no, we'll work together as a team, because it's like, but because even the guy was like, you look familiar. He's like, I think the guy's name was Gisu. He was like, oh, like, I just have one of those ordinary faces. I'm like, you're going to be someone, like, I don't know whether you're going to end up being some criminal or something. It just, the fact is they made a point of the guy being like, you look familiar. He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, that seems like there's a lot of, like, heavy plot stuff that you're like, okay, that probably won't get answered for a couple episodes, but they're setting the groundwork of, like I said, him being brought in last minute, because we even got to the point, she's like, we got introduced to the previous co-pilot. She's like, hi, I'm going to be the co-pilot, and just immediately changing that. Because she was even at the meeting when we kind of rewound it a little bit, because they went back to kind of focus on Mr. Wong a little bit. She's sitting like right next to him or something. I'm like, wow, she was even at the meeting. Why do that? That's really interesting. Obviously, there's the other doctor. She's asking all kinds of questions, but Dr. Song is kind of keeping her distance. It seems like they kind of like chastise her, or at least other people had. The guy who recruited him, Mr. Kim, like had kind of chastised her for being like, I believe that was him. The actor who plays Deok-soo from Squid Games, he was kind of criticizing her for being like cold and just kind of, he called her conceited and stuff. I don't know if she always was like that, like the reason why he has that perception of her, or is that specifically because that came about because of her sister's death, and it just like, you know, because like the moment she got the card and everything, she poured out the water, because I think it was just kind of like, oh, like, that's all my sister is good for, like, yeah, I have a good, like, but that's almost like, oh, that's the price of your sister's life was that, so, because the moment she just poured out a whole bunch of water, and the dog that she's taking care of present day, came and licked it up a little bit. It's just like, obviously it's like, so that's why I think she probably like shifted over, just because she wanted nothing to be in this sector of things, because it's just like, I don't know, maybe there's an even deeper connection to her sister, the reason why she backed away from like astrobiology and went into kind of like I said, she was kind of taking after and looking after a tiger. I have no idea what ethology is, so like I'm assuming it has something to do with animals. Okay, I actually looked it up. It's basically the science of animal behavior. So I figured as much, considering we're seeing her with literal animals, in particular like the tiger. So, you know, context clues, but getting a definitive answer to that. Okay. Nevertheless, you have kind of like the blabbermouth, what's his name? Suchun, who's asking all the questions, because he's asking Dr. Song like, oh my god, what status are you and stuff like that. And she's like, the other doctor's like, how about you mind your own business? He's like, yeah, we're kind of like a family pretty much at this point in time, because apparently upon completing this, they're all going to be able to move up to Class A, like water levels and stuff like that. So, this mission, I think that speaks volumes that it's like, right, you're doing this mission, you're all going to go up from, who knows what level everyone else is at, but still. I didn't talk about it, but that is an interesting thing that people are asking to abolish that law, because now it adds a social element, a social class element to how much water you can get, because it almost implies like, right, the more rich and powerful you probably are, the more water you probably get, the better quality water you'll get at that too. So it's like, right, everyone should get the fair share amount of water, but that's, humans, we aren't fair like that. But they take off and cool, we're going to go to the moon and everything. But then they focus on like, oh, cool, something's wrong with this ship. Of course it is. Because, obviously we had our cold opening, which was them crash landing. So, well, they would actually already crash by that point in time. But, basically, Captain Han was like, right, we're going to have to disconnect from like the landing module or whatever. Which I'm like, because it's like, if they don't do it now, they're not going to land at all. Or at the very least, they're going to be up in a very terrible situation. So, they disconnect from that, and they crash land. And obviously, we get back to where we were at the very beginning of the episode. So I was like, right, everyone getting all their stuff and trying to get out. The door's kind of stuck, and the ship is tilting. So Song falls when the glass gets shattered, and she gets sucked through. I think speaks volumes that Captain Han tries to grab her. And I think maybe she feels a certain way about it, because it's like, right, you kind of went above and beyond to save me in particular. Because they kind of make a point as the episode progresses, you notice that it's like, oh, Dr. Song, you keep going. Because it's like, right, you are the most important person in this mission. Like, regardless of what happens to anyone else, it's kind of like you're at the epicenter of this, so you need to keep going to the facility. But luckily, he was able to grab onto her, pull her back in, and they were able to leave. And so it's like, right, Mr. Huang is hurt, which I'm like, because even Suchan had brought up, like, shouldn't he be talking more? He's the guy that helped, apparently he's the one that helped create the station. So, like, why isn't he saying anything? He's like, I got a million questions for him. But now it's like, apparently, like, he has a fractured rib that's, like, messing him up. So it's like, all right, we're going to have to walk all the way to the station. And eventually on the way there, they're running pretty low on oxygen too, but things take a pretty bad turn for Huang. And I don't know whether it's just knowing what happened to her sister, not just her sister, the other 100 and some, like 16 people that were a part of the station 5 years ago, whatever it was, like seeing him hurt, like she went to kind of want to check on. I think it's like, I don't know what that's supposed to be indicative of. She keeps people at a distance, but even she was worried about him. But it's kind of like no, you just keep going, you're the most important person here. But things get bad, once again, not only because of their oxygen levels, he takes a turn for the worse. And so at one point, his water runs out, and they're like, all right, he's like, water, like, all right, give him some more water. And before, like, Captain Han's trying to give it to him, but he was like, no, don't, water, don't. And you're like, what? And then he dies, and you're like, huh. So, are you talking about any water that you brought back, or are you specifically saying, do not touch any water that's at this station? He obviously knows more than what's going on. Like I said, I think Captain Han has some idea. I don't think he knows everything that went down in the station. Could be wrong, but you could tell, like, from his perspective, like, right, this is supposed to be a mission to bring everybody back, which I'll also be the first one to admit. When they got off the ship, I was like, wow, I'm surprised everyone's alive. Normally in a circumstances like this, at least you'd expect at least one person to have died from the crash. Technically, Mr. Huang did, but still, like, that was a little after the fact. I thought, like, everyone would have died, at least some other people would die. But it's like, no, other than him, he's the only casualty so far, and that was just kind of an issue that I'm like, it is interesting that there would, we never really got the ins and outs of, like, there was an issue with, like I said, the landing module thing, and I'm like, well, I don't think it was like a landing module, just a module, and whatever the case may be. Something was wrong with it, and I'm like, shouldn't have been something they were able to sniff out before you took off? Like, or is that just something that, it seems a little there's too much going wrong at once. You just suddenly get a new co-pilot who, while we're crashing, is kind of laughing like a lunatic. He's got that whole thing with candy to him. I'm like, man, you seem like a weirdo. I don't know. But also on top of that, like he was kind of almost like a cowboy, like kind of being like so excited, like who, like just being like, oh my god, this is almost so excited. Like I don't know if that was just it came across that way to me, not less that was him just being like, oh shit, we're gonna die type of thing. I don't know. It seemed like he was almost like, woo, this is wild, this is crazy. He almost seemed like he had that attitude, but unless I was somehow misreading that scene, which I could have been. But yeah, like I said, like Captain Han he wasn't expecting to lose anyone because they also can't contact the SAA. It's like, well, they had to have been watching it, so they have to have some idea of what situation we're in, especially considering we have no ship. I'm like, cool. You're on a mission that's supposed to be 24 hours. You lost your ship. You can't get in contact with Earth. All you can hope is, well, they were watching, so hopefully they'll find us and send a rescue mission. So all while that's happening, like they have to rush to get to the station as they're all running low on air, and we're in those single digits percent wise oxygen, so getting closer and closer. Some people are already at 1%. You hear like 6 and 4%, and they manage to get in the way. I mean, you can tell it's taking its toll on everyone because like it's getting harder to breathe, and like some of the people are just like stumbling to get there. And I think it's up to Suchan to open the door, and he's putting in the code like twice, and it fails. I'm assuming it's because he's entering like there's so much carbon dioxide and stuff, like the oxygen's like run out so much that it's like it's probably harder to focus. And then he finally puts it in and gets it in, and they're like, cool. Everybody makes it inside, and Captain Han closes the door, and that's where we leave things. Now, like I said, based on like the teaser trailer or trailer, once again, I don't remember which one I watched, if not both of them. The fact is that I know there's something else going on at the station. Now, the question is what it is exactly. We're not sure. Even, like I said, that's why I feel like it might have been the teaser trailer I watched and not a full-blown trailer, but still. I'm very fascinated to see where this goes, finding out what these samples are. Like I said, it seems unrelated, especially because they don't go like, yeah, this is about fixing the water situation on Earth, because if it was related, they would give that information, but the fact is, they're keeping hush-hush about it. It's so top secret, it makes you go, yeah, they don't, there's something dubious going on here. Not dubious, but devious is what I should say. Like something ain't right. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. Like always, I'm watching these one at a time. So when you're actually listening to this and seeing this up, the other episodes should be coming out in like 15-minute increments afterwards. So, but I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us, where the rest of the season ends up taking us going forward with this story. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.